So last time we got together, we talked a little bit about the interest of workers in the contingent workforce and really the growing number of participants as being one of the drivers that we're seeing in the growing prevalence and importance of the contingent workforce. And today we want to unpack a little bit what are the drivers behind that, right? So what is it that is driving this interest that historically maybe wasn't there or has just evolved over the last 5 to 10 years in that window? And there's both cultural changes and there's generational changes that are driving this. One of the kind of main topics that for me pops up because we see it so much is baby boomers, right? So we're talking about the most productive generation in American workforce history is retiring, but they're having a problem with completely unplugging. And furthermore, they still have a ton of value to add to the generations that come behind them. So increasingly, we're seeing them participate and leverage the benefits. And why do you think that is, Maria, right? What is it about the contingent workforce that's attractive to those boomers?
So sometimes they retire and just to find themselves missing work and missing staying busy. And that's something that we have seen happen a lot during and after COVID, right? A lot of people decided to retire early, and after realizing that that was not for them, they decided to come back to the workforce as independent consultants.
Yeah, and that's still freeing up time for them to, maybe travel a little bit around the country if they like to golf, if they like to play other sports. We see pickleball growing in prevalence. So it just allows them a little more flexibility of without the full-time commitment, but still contributing in a way that it makes their days fulfilling and helps them enjoy day-to-day life a little more.
Absolutely.
And the pandemic, I mean, this is a huge topic. I know we've beat the pandemic to death, but we got to come back to it because it's so important in terms of the role it's played. Companies have realized that the impact that people can make when they're working remotely. And this has played a big role ultimately because they can now leverage the pieces like we talked about in our last conversation of having full-time people working in the office, ultimately building the culture and creating an environment that everyone's excited to go work in every day, but still leveraging the contingent workforce for the skills they don't have in the building. They're more open to having those people work remotely. So when you have a group of people that are very interested in staying remote in their work arrangements and companies that are, open to folks doing this from a skill set and growth standpoint, you get a really dynamic environment that, allows companies and workers to, to operate more kind of like symbiotically, right? So that's exciting.
Exactly. And another main driving force is the entrepreneurial spirit that the workforce has at this time. They prefer to work with multiple clients as independent consultants rather than taking one full-time role, right? And ultimately, what happens is that they expand their skill set at a faster speed than with full-time employment, and that skill set ends up being their product, right?
No, it's a great point, and you just see kind of the spark to the people that we connect with, the spark inside of them, when we start seeing the different ways that they can leverage this contingent work to now, have clients, start building a business and understanding what that looks and feels like day to day, and even if perhaps the contract work is not the main product that they want to bring to the market. Perhaps there's other things they can start to pursue that as well. So part of the environment that's creating, viable options for these contractors is that companies are also realizing, man, there's skill sets that we can get access to very quickly in this contingent workforce that we can't get from FTEs. And it's not that, Kent is probably overstated. It's just that it'll take much longer to find an FTE that can work in the office at any given time. And it's also a growing, you get access to more workers when you tap into this contingent workforce. So you're now working with both people that are willing to come into the office full time, but you're also working with these contractors with a variety of skills who can sort of tap in on a contingent basis and help, whether remotely or in office, with skills that you probably don't have in the building today.
Exactly, and that is actually one of the main drivers, flexibility, right? Mm-hmm. Flexibility on both ends, on the company's end and the contractor's end. And since we're talking about the benefits for contractors and why they view contract work so attractive, flexibility is one of the main topics when they decide to make that pivot in their career. And that allows them to not only own their schedule and their agenda, but also take breaks between assignments. And that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be to travel, like you mentioned earlier, or it could be to pursue personal interests or to spend more time with family. Or, like we've seen in a couple scenarios, they also want to start new businesses. For example, we had a consultant that acquired a property to rent it on Airbnb, and contract work allowed him to keep working part-time while he could take care of his new business, right?
No, that's a great point, Maria, and it sort of brings us back to just the prevalence of the gig economy in the current workforce, and the fact that people are realizing that their careers just don't need to be linear anymore. Right. So leveraging their skill sets, either to start a business that is in contract or consulting, or leveraging contract and consulting to go start different businesses. And there's just a variety at play that workers of different generations are appreciating. And no doubt the pandemic played a huge role in that, both for the psyche of the worker and the interest from businesses in this type of worker, and the understanding that they can do it remotely, they can do it from the office, they can do it from anywhere, because they saw that thesis sort of proven over the last 4 to 5 years.
Absolutely.